Hi there, I'm Debbie Van Wickler. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'm a New York City-based Pilates instructor and movement specialist. I've spent the last 10 years helping people just like you get a little more bang for their buck out of every exercise they do. So today I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about downward facing dog. This exercise is probably the most popular of any yoga class out there. And I would have to say that in my experience, about 80% of people are doing it incorrectly and in a way that causes them pain instead of comfort. Today, we're going to fix that. So the place that makes the most sense to start with downward dog is going to be our hands. The placement of your hands should be a little bit wider than your shoulders. That's going to give your shoulders plenty of space to open instead of scrunch in the movement. Once the hands are shoulder distance apart or a little bit wider, we start to focus on what the hands are doing. Now, you really want your whole hand to be pressing down into the ground. Most people end up putting all the pressure on the heel of their hand, and then that ends up causing wrist pain, right? When we press all of our body weight down through these little bones in our wrists, it's going to cause them to crunch and to get really uncomfortable. So use those digits, whether you've got 10, 8, 5, however many you got on your hands, press them into the ground and use them. When I'm teaching down dog, I really like to cue the pulling out of the arms. So what do I mean by that? I mean, while you're pressing those fingertips down into the ground, you're also making the motion as though you're going to rip the mat in half. Now, you're not actually going to move your hands. They're stuck in space. However, that movement is going to start to distribute the weight from your hands up through the forearms, up through your arms, and now into your shoulders. Now, those shoulders are a whole long conversation in and of themselves, right? Shoulders tend to get really scrunchy in the down dogs. You don't want to wear them as earrings. We want to keep a nice wide base in the back, nice wide collarbones in the front as you're reaching those arms up overhead. Now that the shoulders are down out of the ears and the base of the shoulders is nice and wide in structure, we want to start to think about the hips and what they are doing. Now, some instructors will cue a tucked tailbone in a down dog. Some will say sits bones up in the air. I like to think of it as a Goldilocks position, a nice neutral spine in between. So there's no tucking or major tilting happening. It's more of a lifting of those hips up towards the sky. The more you use your core and scoop your belly button to your spine, the more those hips are going to glide on up, and even less weight you're going to start to feel down in your wrists. Now, as you'll see in this video here, when you have tight hamstrings and a lower back, and you try to straighten out the legs, all of your body weight starts to shift forward back into your shoulders. That's going to make your shoulders scrunch up into your ears, cause you neck pain, maybe end up with a headache after class. Your wrists are going to start to bother you because now you're more in a plank than you are even in a downward dog. So far, so good. Most people kind of get this concept and really do aim for it in the beginning, and then everything goes to hell the second they start to straighten out their legs. So first things first, if you have tight hamstrings or you have a tight lower back, do not worry about getting your legs straight in your downward dog. It's not going to happen for a long time. Don't feel bad about it. And just know that every single time you're doing a downward dog correctly, you're getting that much closer to eventually getting your heels down to the floor. Once you've got that back nice and straight, I like to encourage people to start to pedal their heels a little bit, just being super mindful that as you're pedaling, you're not rounding forward into those shoulders. So flat back always first, and then you can add that little extra oomph through the pedaling of the heels. Feels really nice. And finally, my last tip for your downward dog is to do it regularly and do it for long periods of time, right? Doing an exercise for 5-10 seconds, it's okay, but it's not going to make major change happen. You've got to be up there for like a good 90 seconds for the muscles just to start to actually open up and to relax and to get a little bit longer. I could probably keep going on for days about how to even more perfect your downward facing dog, but I think this is going to wrap it up for today. If you end up having questions for me, please feel comfortable to leave a comment below, ask away. I'm always happy to chat about anatomy and how to help you feel better in your exercises. Thanks so much for listening today, guys. Have an awesome one. Peace out.